Hello dear soulmate, you're welcome back to my YouTube channel. If this is your first time of seeing my channel, thank you for stopping by. If you're a returning subscriber, thank you for watching. So in this tutorial, I'm going to be learning how to handcraft a homemade bra cup for a cupped corset. If you're interested in learning how to go about this, then join me while we get started. Okay, to begin this, you're going to be drafting it on a pattern, and you need your pattern master for your ruler, and you're going to need your French curve. Okay, so these are the sizes we are going to be working with: shoulder to bust 9.5, shoulder to under bust 13 inches, shoulder to over bust 6 inches. So we also have the cup height of 7 inches and the cup width of 8 inches. So it's either you're working with this first part or you work with this lower part, but I'll be working with the lower part, which is the cup height and the cup width. Okay, so I'm also going to be doing a simple illustration of how you can actually get your cup height and your cup width, and we can do that with a bra cup. Okay, so I'm going to start by drawing a straight line, a vertical straight line like this, which is going to serve as my center front. Okay, so I'll use my marker to make it visible for us to see. This is going to be our center front. So I'm also going to draw a straight horizontal line at the top, which is going to be our starting point, and is going to also be our over bust line. Okay, you know the over bust is going to be at the top. Okay, so I'm going to just label it for us to be able to understand it. Okay, so from our measurements, we have our shoulder to bust, shoulder to under bust, and shoulder to over bust. With that, you can just go ahead and mark your shoulder to over bust, which is already 6 inches from here. You just place your tape on 6 inches on that over bust line. Then from there, you mark 9.5 for your bust point, and then draw straight line. They also mark 13 inches for the under bust and draw straight line. That is if you are using the method up. Okay, but I'm working as if I do not have my shoulder to bust, shoulder to under bust, and my over bust. I'm working with cup height and cup width. Now, how to do that? Let's use this bra cup to illustrate. So you can see the way I'm placing the tape from the top to the bottom. The top is the over bust and the bottom is the under bust, and it's giving me 6 inches. And then for the cup width, you're just going to do it like this from one part of the bust bridge down to the side of the bust of a person. That is if you are taking it on your clients, that is how it's going to be, and you're going to be having that. Okay, so that's what I'm using right now, and I already have my measurements there. So for us to go, we are going to be using a compass. For us to continue doing this, we are going to be using a compass. So you should get a compass while we are doing so. Just go ahead and fix your compass, fix your pencil there, and place it down. Now let's go ahead and mark our bust point from our over bust. Okay, so from the over bust to our bust point is 9.5, which is about 3.5 inches. So I'm just going to place 6 inches on my over bust line, and I'm going to mark the bust point. Okay, so after marking it, I'm going to draw a straight line there. But for the under bust, I will not mark it because I'm going to be using my compass to draw a circle that's going to give me a guide onto how I will get my under bust. Okay, that is if you're working with the second measurement where you do not have your shoulder to under bust. Okay, so now if you want to impute your under bust, go ahead and impute it. That is if you have the measurement, you took it on your client. But if you did not, just go ahead and continue. So now I'm marking my bust span measurement, which is the nipple to nipple divided by 2. I'm working with 3.5 inches, and I'm marking it from the center front, as you can see. So I'm going to connect it with a straight line like this from the over bust down to the under bust line. Okay, so after connecting a straight line there, I'm going to place my compass and the pencil like this. You can see the way I'm placing it. It must give you exactly your bust span, what the wideness of your bust span, which is just from that point to the center front. So it must be that same measurement. After placing it that way, just go ahead and draw your circle. Remember, the circle is just to help us serve as a guide and to also help me get my under bust. That is if I'm working with cup height and cup width. Okay, okay, so because the circle is not very visible, I'm going to use my marker pen to just draw dotted lines around it so that you can be able to have a view of what it looks like. So now after doing this, I'm going to come to that tip there. That is going to serve as my under bust line, and you can also cross check it very well. You can see it's stopping at 13 inches. Okay, this just simply tells that the distance between your bust to your under bust should give you your bust span measurements. Okay, but I would still advise that you take the measurements on your clients and use what you have taken on your clients. Okay, so now I've gotten my under bust line, and now I'm going to go ahead and tighten the under bust. So I'm going to be tightening the underbust with 1.25 inches, that's 1/4 of an inch. You can use 1.5 if you're working with someone that is a bit busty. Okay, most times the tightening of underbust is usually 2 inches or more, but I'll use 1.25 to to tighten it and to help give it a good shape. So now that I've marked that point, I'm going to be connecting it to the bust point, but because I'm going to be avoiding sharp edges at that point, I'm going to come down from that point by 1 inch. You can also use your 0.75, it's still going to work fine. So that 1 inch, I marked it there, and I'm going to mark 0.25 on both sides, as you can see. After marking the 0.25, I'm going to make sure that I place my curve in a way that it's going to connect both from that 0.25 to where I mark my 1.25 on the underbust line, just to ensure that everything connects together, giving me a nice curve. So please, when you're doing this, it's very important that you take your time. You don't have to be in a hurry to curve this out. Okay, take your time to do it and curve it well. Okay, so after doing this part, I'm going to do the same thing for the other part, and I would also advise you also take your time to do it to get a very good curve that is smooth and straight. So the reason why we came in and out from both sides by 0.25 is to avoid sharp points at that point. Okay, that is the reason why we did it. So my marker pen is just some part of it is looking bigger than the other. That's why I would advise that you use a pencil when you are drafting instead of a marker pen. Okay, so that's why I'm retracing. Now that I have this, we are going to be working with our cup width. We have already gotten our cup height of 7 inches, which is the same as what we have on our measurements. We are going to get the cup width, which is 8 inches. Okay, so knowing that I've taken half of an inch from the center is going to be affecting our measurement. Okay, so what you're going to do is you're just going to place your tape and stop at that point where you have the 0.25 rather. So you'll be having 3.25 there. Okay, so I'm just indicating this area that is going to be taken off with this straight line slant line, just to show that it's going to be taken off. So that 3.25 that I have there, I'm going to place it from this second side like this, as you can see, where we came out by 0.25, and then now I can go ahead and mark my 8 inches cup width. So another way you can get your cup width is by adding your nipple to nipple measurement. The nipple to nipple measurement, if you are using 7 inches, just add 1 inch. Okay, so by the time you mark half of an inch, which is 3 inches from one side, then you mark 4.5 inches from the other side. Okay, so I marked 0.75 at the top and the bottom part of my bust line from the center front, and I'm using a slight curve to connect it. The curve doesn't have to be too curvy, please, just make it a bit slight, so that a little bit straight, a little bit curvy, so that it's not going to give you something else. Okay, so from this second side, I'm supposed to also mark 0.75, which I will also do from the bottom and the top, and I'll use my curve to connect it. Okay, so I'll use my curve to connect them to meet that point there. As you can see, I'm going to connect it. So don't forget, when you are taking your bust, your cup width, remember to ensure that you have added the half of an inch that was taken away from the center from that bust point. So now, after you have connected this, use your curve to connect them well. Please, I want to say again, anywhere you are using your curve in your cup, you have to place your curve where to give you that curve. You don't want your cup coming out looking flat or funny, so you have to place your curve well. Okay, so that you can have a good curve and a good shape. When you cut it out and you join it, you're going to be having a good cup. Okay, so now we're going to work at the upper part, and what we are going to do is that we're going to come from this side here, and then we are going to check our cup width. So we know that the up and the down is not going to be the same, because that half of an inch that we took was just from the lower part. So I'm marking these areas to show that it will be taken off. It is a dart. Remember that half of an inch here is not going to be there for the up, it's not going to be taken out, so it's going to affect the measurement. So remember, we just know our measurements as 8 inches, which we stopped here before for our cup width, which we use for the lower part. For the upper part, what we are going to do, we are just going to mark the 8 inch direct. Okay, so we are not going to be adding the half of an inch at the side, just like we did for the other side. We are just going to mark it directly 8 inches. Okay, and then I'm going to mark it at the upper that at the upper what's it called, the dart leg at the upper part. Okay, so then I'm going to connect it up. So you can see that it is shorter than the lower one by half of an inch. You can see it's shorter. Okay, so after connecting the lines up, we are going to come in by half of an inch, but then you should take note that for this side, standard is usually 2 inches. You're just going to come up 2 inches from that leg you have at that side, and then come in by half of an inch. Okay, I'm going to use my marker to make this visible so that you can see it. I'll just draw these 2 inches I marked here just to show you, and see that we came in by half of an inch, and connect that half of an inch to meet the end point at that side. Okay, so we're not using the straight one, we are going to be using the slanted one. Then for this center front side, we usually use about 1.5. You can use 1.25, 1 in, depending on what you want to get, depending on the shape of the curve you want to get. But I'm just going to do something that is standard, and I'm using 1.5. So from that 1.5, I came in by 0.25. And I'm going to be using my marker to connect it so that we can see. So as you can see now, I've gone ahead to connect them together. Now I'll place my curve like this and connect it. So when you're placing your curve, you don't want it to be too curvy. Just go ahead and do it the way I'm doing it. If you want it to be curvy, or if you want the curve to come up a little bit, you can go ahead and extend it from the center point and then join it. Okay, so I'm using my marker to indicate arrows of where it will be joining or they'll be meeting, so that when I'm cutting into my pattern and joining it, it will be very easy for me. And I also labeled it 1 2 3. Okay, like I said, you can go ahead and work on the top part, alter it to different shape you want. It's up to you, it depends on what you want to achieve. Okay, so now I also label center front and side front, so that we can be able to tell where the center front is when you are cutting and when you are joining. And I also indicate these two dots at the down just to show that it's the lower part. So now I'm going to cut it out. Just watch me while I do so. If you're finding this tutorial helpful, do not hesitate to give us a thumbs up, subscribe to our channel, and share our video. Okay, also know that we have our online classes ongoing, and if you're interested, do not hesitate to send us a message on WhatsApp. Okay, we also have a free class going on for Victorian corset or underbust corset. If you're interested, send us a WhatsApp message to register. Our WhatsApp number is displayed on the screen. So if you see, after placing them together, they are aligning very well. So now I'm just going to take my tape and close them up together just to show you what it looks like. So after using my tape to hold them from the back, you can see that we're already having our cup crafted. At this point, if you don't have a bra cup, you can use your hand to craft this out and you will get a good cup. Okay, so now I just want to show us how it's going to look like when we have joined it, and I went ahead to cut it out with a laminated foam for both the 1 2 3 parts of it. And you can see I went ahead to laminate it to the fabric. What I did is that I ironed estate to the fabric, and I went ahead to use my hemming gum to gum it together with the laminated foam. I only did this for one part. Okay, then the other part I just went ahead to cut the fabric pieces, and I added half of an inch allowance all through. So now when you take this to your machine, you're going to be stitching it with a zigzag, and you're going to stitch it together from the top to the bottom. Okay, ensuring that the needle is piercing from both sides. And after stitching this down, I'm going to also take the upper parts and then join it together with my zigzag stitch. You can also use your hand, or you can use a needle and thread to just do this, just to ensure it's equal. Because I did not add allowance, you do not need to add allowance for it. The only place I added allowance is for the main fabric, which is what I'm showing you right now. I went ahead to add half of an inch all through because I'm going to be using it to be turning it down. So if you are using it to work on your corset, you can add about 0.75 or even 1 inch, and when you are done, you can trim out any excess. Okay, so now I've gone ahead to do it with my zigzag machine. As you can see, this is what it looks like from the inside. This is going to serve as the back piece. This is going to be the back, and the other part is going to be the front, because I'm going to be taking the main fabric, which I have joined with half of an inch all through. I've joined it like this, as you can see, and I'm going to go ahead and join it at the top, which I'll be using to cover it. So it's going to serve as the front. So just go ahead and iron it, your seams open, but I'll advise that you iron stay on it before you even join it together. Okay, because that would help to give it a firmness. But I didn't do that because I'm just doing an illustration. Okay, so after you have done that, you will now take the foam, or the cup rather, and place it on the fabric, ensuring that the lines align. You can see the way I'm trying to place the line to align on both sides and even from the lower side. That is after you have gone ahead to open your seam, iron your seam open, and iron your hairstay on it. Okay, so after doing that, just go ahead and do this like this, and then stitch at the top with about 0.25 or less, depending on what you want to do. Okay, when I was cutting, I think I added a little bit at the top so that I will use it to cut it out. So just go ahead and stitch it. So now I've gone ahead to stitch it. This is what it looks like. Okay, now because there's the excess there is much, I don't want it to be that much. You can leave it that way, or you might trim it. So I'm just going to trim a little bit of it out, just about 1.25 inches. It's not so much. I'm just going to trim a little bit of it out. Okay, and now that I've trimmed it, I'm okay with it. I'm going to cut the fabric as well, trim it to make sure that it aligns with the cup size. Okay, so I'm going to do it for the other side, and I'm going to fold it this way, ensuring that I lay it properly at the top, let it stay flat. I did this because I'm trying to avoid the lines showing at that top. I don't want it to be that way. That's why I'm doing this. So after doing this, I'm going to lay the fabric flat on it, and I'm going to use my pins to secure it well. Okay, please take note that if you are going to be joining this on your corset, don't do it the way I'm doing it. Okay, add your necessary allowance that you need for it, so that when you're joining to your fabric or your corset, you can join it with the allowance. Me, I am trimming it out because it's just an illustration to show you what the cup looks like. So you can see what the cup looks like after I've gone ahead to pin it down and trim it. You can now take it to your machine and sew at the edge like that, or you weave it. Okay, I'm going to take it there and just going to sew it all around. Please, if you are using it for your corset, add your necessary allowance. So this is what the cup looks like after we have done. If you find this tutorial helpful, please subscribe to our channel and share our videos. We have come to the end of this tutorial. Thank you for watching. See you guys in my next video.